Okay, we are going to start making the pierogies. The first thing you want to do is you want to dice up your potatoes, manageable size. You don't want them too small. I had Dan peel them for me and put them in a little bit of water with citric acid or lemon juice, just so they don't turn brown. And then you're going to boil them until they're fork tender. And that will take some time. So, and I use a potato ricer because it makes them nice and smooth without getting them all like glue. To make your dough, I think Bobby used to do it a little different, but I remember a story that Mom and Jeannie had said that someone in the neighborhood had talked about using sour cream. And ever since we tried it, we've done it the same way ever since. So I buy the Gailey full fat sour cream. Don't buy the gold one for this. You want it to be a little looser, like an egg and water kind of consistency. So I use the whole container right in the bowl.
The golden one is kind of like hard and different textures. I don't like it.
Yeah, it's best for eating the pierogies with. Just the entire thing of sour cream in the bowl. Throw that in the sink.
Yes.
These two. I use a coarse like sea salt in the house, so I have it in my pestle and mortar. You just want to have like a teaspoon, and I add it right to the sour cream. That way it gets all incorporated, and you want to have a little bit of flavor. I start with 3 cups of flour in the container. Now I'm using a 3/4 cup, so I'm doing heaping cups of this. I could use the cup measuring spoon, but I started with this one. So once you have your 3 cups in, you're gonna need another cup set aside and ready to go. And then just start incorporating the sour cream into the flour.
This is going to take a while to make pierogies.
So it starts getting shaggy. Do it with a spoon or a fork for a bit because it'll be sticky and wet at this point. So you're just going to want to make sure you get all that flour into the sour cream.
And you will not believe the giant bag of cheese we have. It's crazy. It's like 12 bricks. Not 12, but probably like 1.
It's 2.
It's 2 bricks. Damn.
Okay. So once it starts to stick to your little utensil here, start bringing it together with your hands in the bowl. So we want to keep the moisture in the dough so we don't add too much flour at once. You knead it in until it's incorporated.
And then I want to have this dough now.
What we're looking for is a soft, elastic dough. And as it incorporates into the sour cream, it's going to get really sticky. I'm sure there's technical terms about gluten strands and things like that that we're not going to worry about. So it's still sticky. I'm going to add some flour and then knead that in.
So soon she's going to put it on this and start kneading.
Yeah. Once it's not quite as sticky, I'll use a bigger surface, my pierogi board. All right.
I also want to
Put that on the counter.
Okay.
Thank you. So next, you're kneading it. You're folding the dough over and pushing it out to get it incorporated in. You can see that it's sticking to my hand right now. It definitely needs more flour.
So soon she's probably, I don't know exactly, she's probably gonna sprinkle it and then put it on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's what she usually does.
That's right.
Can I have half to help?
So why don't you wait until it's almost incorporated? Then that way it won't be as difficult. So right now, it's a really tough dough. We're trying to knead it so it gets soft and elastic. It is a bit of a balance. And it is easier when you're here so you can feel and kind of see it up close what the texture is supposed to be. Much like bread dough, you want to be able to poke it and it kind of springs back and returns to its shape, and you don't want it to be sticky. So we're pushing it forward, folding it over, pushing it forward.
So satisfying to watch.
And when you're doing this, if you can see my board, you see what's sticking to the board. We want to knead it till it doesn't do that anymore.
It's really sticking to the board. You should add more flour.
I will. Put it in little bits at a time. Because you don't want to add more sour cream to it. You want to keep the moisture in. You can always add a little bit more flour as needed. But you can't really add more liquid to it once it reaches this point.
This is definitely one of the best pierogies you'll ever have.
Thank you.
So my mom makes them differently. I smell sour cream.
Yeah. It's a part of our dough. So as it gets incorporated in, it returns to that sticky stage, telling us that we need a bit more flour. So the dough is more manageable.
It looks like a heart when you did it. It was like, It looks like an actual heart.
And I always start with 3 and have the 4th ready to go. It depends on the humidity in the room and stuff like that too. But it almost always takes 4 cups. And then sometimes a little bit more.
We're also I think we're gonna do a taste test at the end.
Of course you can have a taste test at the end. So it's still a very rough, shaggy dough. It's still sticking pretty consistently. So there's our last of our cup. We set aside. Oh, the flour matters too. 5 Roses is good. Robin Hood is good. Don't use a no-name or selection brand.
Five Roses is probably the best.
Yeah.
She uses that almost every single time.
Yeah, the flour definitely matters. You don't want a cheap flour. I use an all-purpose flour. You don't want it to be too fine.
This flour?
That's the Robin Hood, but that's the cake one. You don't want that one. Robin Hood brand is another good brand. All-purpose flour. And the brand matters. I remember when I was pregnant, I was trying to make pierogies, and I was getting really frustrated because the dough wasn't coming together because I wasn't using a good flour. And I know better, and I got really mad, and I threw the dough across the room. And one of my friends showed up with a bag of flour because I was so frustrated to help me. All right, a little bit more.
So soon
I'm just gonna sprinkle at this point. I don't wanna add too much. It's almost to the right consistency. This might be the last round of kneading.
Is it soft?
Almost. Are your hands clean?
Yes. Doggy.
Don't touch the dog, please.
I'm not.
Okay. So what you wanna do, Piper, is you're gonna want to use the heel of your hand and push the dough, and then you're gonna fold it onto itself. See, it's still pretty sticky. Push the dough and fold it onto itself. We're getting every little bit, so it's not just the surface that's getting kneaded. We want all of it kneaded.
Okay.
All right, so we've got it folded. We're gonna flip it this way. You wanna push and then fold.
So push
Yep.
and then fold.
Yeah, and then push down really hard.
Push down and then fold.
Yeah.
Then push and then fold. Then, okay.
Yeah. Then we're gonna go this way.
Yeah, that's what I was about to do. It's really floury.
Okay, we really want the dough to stay together. You see how it's separating? So let me get in here and get it done. Okay, this part is, it takes some muscle.
I'll probably take a tiny bit and be like,
It does take some muscle.
your hands will get really dirty after.
It's still pretty sticky. I'm gonna say this probably takes about 15 minutes of kneading. It's a little bit of a balance.
Very sticky. I took a piece and it's very, very sticky.
And the more you knead it at this stage, the less sticky it's gonna get. So I'm trying to just do that and have it come together more so we don't have too rough a dough. We want it to be soft and elastic and pliable because we're gonna have to roll it out.
Okay, this feels better. So one more thing of flour and it should be absolutely perfect.
So we're just sprinkling now. We're not using too much.
Smells good. Good.
We're going all directions and really getting down into the dough. All right. It's not sticking to my hands now.
Which is absolutely
It's nice and smooth.
I want to
Okay.
try poking it.
Are your hands still clean?
Yes.
Okay, you just poked your fingernail into it. You're supposed to just press.
Okay.
Okay, we're good now. Okay, so we have to let our dough rest. Piper the saran wrap for me, please.
Yes.
I usually wrap it in saran wrap. Let it rest for at least a half an hour after you prepare the dough. Alright. And I wrap it a couple of times.
And then
So
after a
each
couple of
piece
minutes,
is definitely covered. We don't want it to dry out either while it's resting. So you wrap it up, then you set it aside. Now, I made one about an hour and a half ago, and this one is super soft and ready for us to use. All right, so once the potatoes are boiled, we're gonna put them through the ricer. I'll take you through that in the next clip. Press the button for me. Okay, so I put the potatoes on to boil, as you know, and we're looking for them to be fork tender. You want them to kind of fall apart. So that's what we're after. So all I'm gonna do is I used my pot that has the strainer. I'm gonna get rid of this water. Got some steam happening. Sorry for the noise. I was running cold water down my drain, so I didn't scald anything. Okay, I've got my pre-shredded cheese here. I just shredded it this morning. I didn't buy pre-shredded. And we're just gonna use the potato ricer and take some of our cooked potatoes into the ricer and then into the pot that we cooked everything in. For this bit, we want to get it done while it's hot, obviously, so that the cheese melts. I'm not going to make you watch this whole process, but just to give you an idea, in the bottom, and then some cheese. And then just keep doing that, potato and cheese, until all of the potato is mashed. Do it in layers like that, so make sure the cheese gets melty and doesn't turn gritty and grainy. This potato ricer is the way to go because you don't want your potatoes to be like a glue. So this is going to take me some time. I'm obviously not going to make you watch this whole part, but this is the general idea. And once this is done, we'll mix it up and I'll show you what the consistency looks like. Forgot to mention that you probably want to season these to taste. So I do put a little bit of coarse salt. I just use my pestle and mortar again. You want it not super fine, but not super coarse. You do want it to melt. Do that in the midst of it as well, but not too much, so that when you stir it up, you are going to taste it. You want the filling to be flavorful. Cheese is salty anyway, so don't put too much. Okay, I finished ricing the potatoes and I've added the cheese and I've stirred it up. I put the lid on to trap the heat inside so that the cheese would melt thoroughly. And you can add a little, milk or butter to this if you need to loosen it up. I like it with a thicker consistency because they're gonna get cooked again and they're gonna get boiled inside the dumpling. So it's very cheesy. I use 2 bricks of cheese, old cheddar. Sharp cheddar is best. It's hard to find sharp cheddar in the stew, but extra old yellow cheddar. And I only added a tiny bit of salt. The flavor of these is potato cheese, and we want it to have this kind of thick, you can kind of see how the consistency is. You don't want it like soft mashed potatoes that you'd serve at your table. If you want to skip the milk and butter, but add a little bit of moisture, you can always add a little bit of sour cream. but I'm telling you, don't go crazy. You want it to be thick. Okay, so I have over the years gotten a few tools. I have a pierogi mold. I'm gonna use it today because I have long fingernails, and I have a hard time pinching with long fingernails. So I'm using a pierogi mold, and then you want to use a cutter that's larger than your mold because the dough will shrink. So as you're putting it in, you want it to be a little bit larger. So I've got my dough over here. Can't see it. My dough is here on the cutting board. I just cut off a portion using my butcher knife, and that's the piece I'm gonna roll out. I've also prepped a plastic bag. I'm gonna lay them individually in the plastic bag and then take the air out as much as I can and then lay it flat in the freezer to at least par freeze a little bit, enough. I usually let it freeze for a few hours. Then I can put them all together, but you want to have them separate so they don't stick together. You want them to be individual. So you need obviously a rolling pin. And then I always have some flour set aside. And you're gonna roll out your dough. Move it around the board so it doesn't get too elongated. And you don't want it too thin because you want to be able to stuff it. Roll the edges. Beautiful soft dough, and then cut your circles. If you weren't using a mold and you wanted to just do it by hand, it's completely fine. You would just put it in your hand and put the potato mixture right in the center, fold it over and pinch. I have the molds, so I lay it in my mold, and I'm only gonna put the potato mixture in so it's flush with the mold. Make sure you have clean hands, very clean hands. It's a washing hands game. And then with this mold, I can just squeeze it shut. And then I have a perfect pierogi. And then you just put it in our pre-floured bag. I just gave it a light dusting of flour. And that's it, and you just keep going. But again, if you were gonna do it by hand, you would just lay it out in your hand and put the mixture in the center, right? And then you would just fold it over, right? And pinch. And they're more authentic this way, obviously. You have to really make sure they're pinched well because you don't want your pierogi filling to leak out anywhere. And that's a perfectly good pierogi. This is exactly how they would look like if Baba made them. They'd probably be smaller. Baba had more precision, but that's perfectly fine too. Like I said, I use the mold because I have long fingernails, and while my hands are clean, I just want to make sure everything stays perfect and I'm not poking holes in the dough. And that's it. You just do it till you have a dozen. Once you've cut all your circles and you've filled them and you have the scraps left over, just work them back into themselves. And roll it out again. The more times you roll it out, obviously the stiffer the dough is going to get and more difficult to work with. But the pierogies will still be delicious. It's no problem. You don't want it sticking to the rolling pin. It's going to cause the dough to tear. can see I've rolled it out now a few times, so it's springing back a little more than it was last time. But we can still get a few more pierogies out of this dough. We don't want to waste. So you see I got 3 more circles out of this. And then if they shrink back, I just run them through my fingers a little bit, widen that, and proceed. And we just keep going until we run out of dough or we run out of filling. Again, I'm going more by feeling and taste rather than measurements. The dough is the most measure forward, right? 1 thing of sour cream to 3 cups of flour to start, and then work in the flour. So yeah, just keep using. This is still the first piece of dough that I cut off the main dough ball. And I'm just gonna keep going till I can no longer roll it out. And I keep the scraps, probably keep them in a little Ziploc here at my workstation. And then when I'm all done and I've got those scraps that I can no longer roll out evenly or nicely, I'll roll them out into little casserole dish and make like a lazy man's pierogi. Probably feed Piper for dinner. That's the game. We'll show you what the bag looks like when it's full. So I've done a dozen, and I took the air out best I could, and I'm gonna lay them flat like this in the freezer so they don't stick together.